Okay, first of all, welcome everyone to the webinar about the regulations and the risk management with quality control. This webinar is organized by the association between HQTS and SPEC. And thank you very much for your time to join our webinar today. And today, let me first introduce the reason of this event. As you know, apparel or textile and footwear is one of the most important sectors in Vietnam economy, and Europe is a very important market for Vietnamese companies. So a lot of Vietnam companies want to export to Europe. And in order to prepare well for next year, so we have the webinar today to provide the essential information about the regulations and quality control to ensure that your products, textile and footwear products, will be, qualified and eligible to export to Europe. Give me some time to translate into Vietnamese. Trước tiên thì xin chào tất cả mọi người, xin chào tất cả các anh chị đã dành thời gian tham gia cái buổi hội thảo trực tuyến ngày hôm nay. Buổi hội thảo trực tuyến ngày hôm nay sẽ được tổ chức với sự hợp tác giữa công ty HQTS và tổ chức SPEC. Thì lý do của buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay là vì như các anh chị cũng biết là hàng may mặc và giày dép là một trong những ngành xuất khẩu rất là quan trọng của Việt Nam. Đồng thời thị trường châu Âu là một thị trường rất là tiềm năng cho các doanh nghiệp Việt Nam. Cho nên là cái buổi ngày hôm nay chúng tôi sẽ cung cấp những cái thông tin thiết yếu cần thiết cho các doanh nghiệp khi mà các anh chị muốn xuất khẩu vào thị trường châu Âu vào năm sau. Làm sao để đảm bảo rằng các sản phẩm về may mặc và giày dép của chúng ta đủ tiêu chuẩn và có thể là đủ tiêu chuẩn và đạt được được chấp thuận để nhập khẩu vào thị trường châu Âu. And then I would like to introduce our, the speakers today. First of all, Mr. Gianluca Giara, he is the team leader of SPEC, and he has a lot of experience in Europe and also in the cooperation between Europe and China, more than 20 years. And he has a lot of experience about making the projects done. And the second one is Mr. Robert Hugen. He is the key expert of SPEC, and Robert will today give us very important information about regulations because he has a lot of experience in this field. And the third speaker is Mr. Lê Minh Đức. He is the business development manager of HQTS Vietnam, and he has more than 5 years experience in quality control, especially for textile, apparel, and footwear products, because he has been working with a lot of customers in this industry. So he will share his practical experience and know-how about how to secure the quality of your supply chain. And so please welcome these three speakers of today. Okay, so we will start first with Mr. Gianluca.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I will Okay, can you see well?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay. Thank you very much again for the kind introduction. As it was introduced, my name is Gianluca Giara. I'm from Italy, and I am the team leader of the SPEAK project. As you can see from the logo, SPEAK stands for Safe Non-Consumer Product in Europe and China. Why the European Commission is founding this project? Because this project is a European funded project, because as it was introduced, of course, the European Union is probably the biggest conglomerate of a single market, and provides somehow sustain for 450 million people. Is probably the largest economy in the world, to be verified in terms of GDP with China, of course. And we are having today this webinar because the European Commission can see how strong is the trading relationships between the European market and the Southeast Asian countries, in particular Vietnam. And consequently, it's very important that whoever export to Europe knows very well rules and regulation about the European Union. As it was introduced, SPEAK was founded in 2019. So this is the second phase. What is, as it's written in this slide, the first phase was mostly focusing between Europe and China, being China the first economic partner with the European Union. But during this second phase, and due to the fact that more and more there is a trade relationship between Europe and Southeast Asia, the European Commission decided that the focus of SPEAK project would not be only China, but would be China together with Southeast Asian countries. So this is what we do. Basically, we provide support, in particular to stakeholders. Different kind of support in terms of e-learning, trainings, research paper, technical articles, and also we have IT tools that we call Finder Academy and Ask the Expert. We will go through all of these tools in the upcoming slide. What is important to say in this case is that we try to provide a 360 degrees support to all the stakeholders that want to know more about laws and standards in specific sectors in order to export safe product to the European Union. Here is you can see a summary of all the stakeholders that we relate to. So we work with a public stakeholder, so a local government, provincial level government, think tank, research center. We talk with a private stakeholder, so manufacturer, importer, exporters, inspection companies, buyer. And we have a very important focus towards the e-commerce sector, because of course, in particular, following the pandemic, more and more people are used to buy online rather than the so-called traditional way of developing business. These are the four components that in which SPEAK is focused. Somehow they summarize all our work. So in the first thing, in the first component, our focus is developing cooperation and political and technical dialogue with public and private stakeholders in Southeast Asia. In the second component, there is, of course, our work in the training sector, as the one we are doing right now. In the third component, there is the e-learning platform, where we upload a long list of all the new laws and regulations related to the European market. The fourth component is a horizontal component. So we analyze how the market in product safety is shifting from China to the Southeast Asian countries. These are somehow all the activities that we develop. In many cases, we try also to, according to the needs of our stakeholder, we develop also specific research paper in order to have a better understanding of how the market is moving and in which sectors, for instance, is moving. And based on that, of course, we cooperate with our stakeholder in multiple Southeast Asian countries in order to support, again, manufacturer, producer that are active in those markets and they want to export to the European Union. So somehow you can see that you can see from this slide what are exactly the IT tool that I was mentioning. So one, it's called Finder, and the other one, it's called Academy. You will see later on how what these two IT tools refer to. For the moment, you can see that are the sector of interest for SPIC. We work on non-food product, first of all, and second, we focus essentially on small items. So items that you use on daily basis in your home and for yourself, personal items, or in your office. So we talk about, as you can see from the slide, children article, toys, textile, cosmetics, electrical appliances, and so forth. As I was mentioning before, SPIC Finder is one of our IT tools. In the moment that you log in to the SPIC website, you can read the SPIC Finder. For the moment, it is in English and Chinese language. We hope in the future, of course, to extend it also in Vietnamese. I call it very quickly in a kind of Wikipedia of European laws and standards regarding product safety in Europe. So in the moment that you read the SPIC Finder, you will find all the basic information that you need to know in order to approach the European market if you want to export. Then, of course, as I said before, is a sort of Wikipedia. We cannot upload every single information related to every single sector and product. But we hope with this tool, of course, to facilitate the understanding of European rules. In SPIC Academy, instead, we uploaded a long list of webinars, Q&A session, fact sheet that somehow are support the understanding of SPIC Finder. Here we uploaded over 60 videos, long videos, the great majority, short videos that can support whoever wants to know more about the rules in the European Union. Watching a video, you can have immediately a better understanding of how the market works. With this, I would like to thank you again. I would like to thank HQTS for organizing and moderating this webinar. Again, for us, it's a great pleasure to attend this important training program. And if you have any question later on, we are at your disposal. Wish you all a happy and successful training. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gianluca, for the very great opening speech and introduction of SPIC. Just give me a minute to translate, to summarize for Vietnamese guests. Kính thưa quý vị, thì ông Gianluca vừa mới giới thiệu cho chúng ta về tổ chức SPIC. Thì như quý vị cũng thấy trên slide, thì SPIC là một tổ chức được tài trợ bởi Liên minh châu Âu với mục đích chính là để đảm bảo cho tất cả các sản phẩm hàng consumer goods, là hàng tiêu dùng, ngoại trừ mặt hàng thực phẩm nhập khẩu vào châu Âu thì đạt tiêu chuẩn để bảo vệ sức khỏe tiêu dùng của người tiêu dùng châu Âu. Thì tổ chức SPIC đã thực hiện một cái project rất là thành công với HQTS ở Trung Quốc, và vào năm sau thì SPIC đang có định hướng là muốn tập trung vào thị trường Đông Nam Á, đặc biệt là ở Việt Nam. Cho nên là SPIC cũng tham gia cái buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay với HQTS để cung cấp những cái thông tin đặc biệt là cho các doanh nghiệp Việt Nam về cái việc mà nhập khẩu hàng hóa vào thị trường ở châu Âu. Thì như các anh chị cũng thấy, như hồi nãy ông Gianluca có trình bày là spec cover cũng khá là nhiều các nhóm sản phẩm, ví dụ như là hàng may mặc, hàng giày dép, hàng điện tử, vân vân. Thì cái buổi hôm nay chúng ta nói riêng về hàng may mặc và giày da, và chúng ta có thể có những cái buổi khác vào năm sau, những cái sự kiện khác để chúng ta nói thêm về những cái lĩnh vực khác nữa. Okay, thank you very much. And next is Mr. Robert. He will give us like the essential information about the exporting, regulations to Europe.
Dear Zulik, thank you very much for your welcoming words, and also dear Gianluca, thank you for your extensive introduction. It's a real pleasure for me to be invited and to get the opportunity to assist Vietnam footwear and textile industry in complying with European Union legislation. My name is Robert Huygen. I am from the Netherlands. And I must admit, I have never been in Vietnam before, but I will close this omission. Thank you. Footwear. Footwear comes in close contact with the skin. In many countries, warm countries, there is no direct contact between the footwear and the foot.
Hi, Robert.
But in cold, sorry, you
Robert,
can hear me?
Yes, but can you share your file, your presentation?
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Okay. Sorry for that. Footwear.
Okay.
Footwear comes in close contact with the skin. Many hazardous chemicals can easily migrate from shoe materials to the skin into the body. In many cold countries, there are socks in between, but in warm countries, you have a much closer contact between the skin and the footwear. That is why manufacturers should test footwear on unwanted chemicals used in material preparation, like leather. The manufacturing process, and not to forget, the packaging. The packaging belongs to the product. We will come to that back later. We will show you how and where to find the list of unwanted chemicals. About textile, the second subject of today. Consumers are also in constant close contact with textiles, especially underwear. And this makes ensuring product safety and quality critical. We will pay attention to textile testing in particular in terms of health and safety testing, covering chemical testing, flammability testing, and small parts and choking hazard testing, especially aimed at young persons, children. An example of chemicals that manufacturers should avoid, I can give it already here, is azo dyes. Azo dyes are an example of chemicals we do not want to see in clothing and footwear.
Excuse me, Robert, can you move the slide?
No, this is still slide 1.
Okay, I just remember. Okay, continue.
Yeah, okay. The limit for azo dyes is about 30 milligram per kilogram in weight for each article. So if you have an article that weighs 2 kilograms, then the limit is 60 milligrams. And maybe shoes are a little bit less heavy. But that is already a limit for a very hazardous chemical. Safety of footwear and textile materials. The main concern of casual shoes and clothing is of chemical nature. 90% of all the problems we have is of chemical nature. We like to buy clothing that has a nice color, does not wrinkle, gets stained, or catches fire. But, no, needless to say, all those things are not natural characteristics. They can only be added by using chemicals. And in most cases, these chemicals are sadly dangerous chemicals. In this presentation, we will try to make you familiar with the most important EU legal requirements for shoes and textiles. The contents. Well, I can go quickly to the contents. We start with product safety in the EU, then we move to risk associated with footwear, followed by textiles. We try to show you how to produce compliant footwear and textile products. And a very important issue is, where can I find the right standards for my products? Well, most standards that are available are testing standards. And I think the best address to know which testing standards are available is, of course, HQTS. Yes, they do the actual testing. We will tell a little bit more about lab testing on chemicals, lab testing on mechanical product safety. And then we conclude with marking, labeling, and information about products you want to place on the market. Product safety in the EU. Together with the US, the EU has one of the strictest consumer protection laws existing. There is no possibility to escape controls because market surveillance in the EU is really very active. If something is wrong, they will find it, I can assure you. In many cases, the makers of the products are not aware that they are doing something wrong. I mean, we do not blame the manufacturers in Vietnam or China, because many manufacturers, they have no clue what's in their product. I mean, you can't smell it, you can't see it. That's difficult. For example, they use the wrong materials that are delivered by suppliers. Bringing all your materials to a laboratory to have them checked is not an option. I mean, that is not feasible because that would cost too much money. But the first step is to introduce a quality system in your company and to organize your production in a way that you can move the responsibility for clean materials to your suppliers. So in other words, ask your suppliers for a certificate that can prove that the materials are clean. And I'm pretty sure that HQTS can provide such certificates. Who is responsible for public safety? This is a bit complicated subject. Manufacturer means any natural or any legal person. A natural person is a person like you and me, of flesh and blood. And you have also legal persons, which are companies. And a manufacturer is only manufacturer if he makes the footwear or clothing, or has footwear or clothing designed and manufactured for him, and markets those products under its own name or trademark. I should keep that in your mind, because in many cases, you are probably only the supplier of the real manufacturer. If you deliver your products to a big brand, for instance, an American brand or so, I can't mention names, and they market the product in the EU, then they are the manufacturer in a legal sense. But if you, as a Vietnamese company, are producing the shoes and you are also place them on the EU market yourself, then you are the manufacturer and you have to fulfill all the requirements. An importer, the next important person is the importer. If there is no manufacturer present in the EU, then probably there can also be an importer that is buying your products in Vietnam and places them on the market in the EU, and then you have an importer. The importer takes over the role of the manufacturer, if there is an importer. But in principle, the manufacturer is responsible for everything. There is basically not a big difference between being a manufacturer or a supplier to a manufacturer, because any of your clients that is marketing a product in Europe will still require from you as a maker of shoes prove that your products comply with EU legislation. I mean, once the shoe or once the clothing is made, you can't change it anymore. Yes, you cannot take out the hazardous chemicals. That is the problem. The EU market surveillance system. I can be very short. The EU market surveillance system is very active. It operates per country. It doesn't operate as an EU organization. So if you import your footwear or you import your clothing in Germany, then you have to deal with the German market surveillance. And in France with the French market surveillance. But they work in a common way, and they both check on EU legislation, of course. You are in a market sector that is, let's say, it's rather popular, and you have lots of consumers as clients. And in this sector, where you have very, let's say, common consumer products, it is common in the EU that market surveillance organizations are organizing special actions. Each year they choose a very popular consumer product, can be a cell phone or can be a shoe, yes, and they will pay extra attention to that particular product. So be prepared of that. Risk associated with footwear. The chemical risk is dealt with by the product safety regulations. We have two at the moment. We have the General Product Safety Directive, which is still still applicable until the end of 2024, end of next year. And we already have the General Product Safety Regulation. Please note that clothes and shoes are covered by the General Product Safety legislation. And you have until the end of next year to still comply with the old directive, but you will have to move to the new regulation, which is a little bit more strict. That is all I can say about that. Let's come to the first risk. A children's sandal was checked, and it contained too much chromium. Chromium is a very common element of dyed leathers. So, but you can't see it, you can't smell it, but it is highly poisonous. So be sure that your leather you buy from your suppliers does not contain chromium, because I can tell you for sure that your products will be blocked from the EU market. Another product are women's sandals, and they in this case, they didn't contain mercury, but they contained so-called DMF. DMF is an anti-fungi biocide. It kills molds, it kills fungi. And it is usually added to the packaging or to when the shoes, the clothes, and also shoes are stored. It prevents that the stored goods are affected by molds. It's very important, but DMF is the wrong stuff. Yes, you have to, you need to find something else that's not on the list, because DMF is now completely banned, which means it will, anything you send to Europe will not be allowed to enter the EU. Risk associated with textiles. Again, textiles are covered by the General Product Safety Regulation and Directive, and also by the so-called REACH regulation. This was a red t-shirt, and it contained another very common chemical, which you probably will find somewhere in Vietnam, and it's called azo dye. And azo dye are, because they give a very nice bright color, are very popular. But they are poisonous, and they, in contact with the skin, they cause lots of problems. So if you exceed the limit for azo dyes, there is a limit, then your product will be blocked and will be taken from the market. Of course, you can always take your product from the market yourself. Most importers do that, because then you can make a deal with market surveillance and you say, okay, my mistake, let's take it back, and you have to send new, better products. A very important risk is the choking and strangulation risk, and this is especially for young children. Young children, what are young children? First of all, you have to define young children. Young children are children up to 7 years of age. But the older children are children up to 14 years of age. We have a small problem here, because choking and strangulation is basically aimed at young children, but not entirely, because even older children can strangulate themselves if they are hooked in some way with a cord. And even if you are older, you will get, it's not good, yes? But in Vietnam, people are much smaller than in Europe. The size of a European child of 14 years old, it can easily be 1.80 meters, which is, which is a giant in Vietnam. So there is no regulation that says you have to indicate if something is a clothing for children or clothing for adults, but there are strict regulations for children clothes. So if there is confusion about the size, let's say XXS size, and that can for adults, but that is very suitable for adults in South European countries where the people are much smaller, then you create a problem. So you have to, I should say, just give a warning on the packaging that certain sizes are, even if small, are not meant for children. Then it's on the, then you will remain on the safe side. Burns and fire. This is for burns and fire, we do not have so-called harmonized standards. Doesn't matter, there is a good standard and you can just apply it. You are in the footwear industry and in the clothing industry, you are in some way lucky that your products are covered by the General Safety Directive or General Safety Regulation, because both legislations, they accept other standards too. Yes, even national standards, even specifications, even lots of things are accepted if they give good advice. Yes, so you are not completely forced to use a harmonized standard. How to produce compliant footwear and textile products? Well, you first have to identify the directive, but more or less we have done that already for you in this presentation. You have to identify the standards. This is a very extensive subject. I try to go around it by providing all the available standards to you, and you can give them to the audience. So this is for the audience. All the available standards can be obtained from HQTS. You have to identify the relevant safety requirements. Well, not the real safety of footwear and textile is the chemical safety and some mechanical safety, which is the strangulation and the choking of small objects that are attached to clothing, like buttons. They can become loose and children can swallow them and choke. But for that problem, there is a standard. You have to test it. There is an obligation to test everything. Well, actually, not testing by an external organization, but you have to come up at least with a test report, which doesn't mean that you have to go to another testing facility. You can do the testing at home if you have the right equipment and the knowledge. But I would recommend, as soon as you test for chemicals, it's better to go to a professional testing laboratory, and they will provide you with a test report. The test report is the main component of your technical documentation, and you also have to give some information about the use of your product to the final user, the consumer. The legislation dealing with product safety, well, we already have shown it to you from the beginning. The General Product Safety Directive, the General Product Safety Regulation. Again, please note, at the end of next year, you have to go to the GPSR. You cannot use this GPSD anymore. You still have a whole year to change your production to the new regulation. You have the REACH regulation, which is basically giving limits for hazardous chemicals. And there is another legislation, is the regulation for biocidal products. They basically give information about banned products. And there is a very important, the directive on the packaging and packaging waste. Please note that packaging is part of your product. And I'm buying clothes and shoes my whole life, and all my clothes and shoes are wrapped in a packaging material, or come in a box or in a plastic bag or whatever. And that may mean a problem for you in the near future. We'll come soon to that. Well, finding the right standards. I will skip this slide because all the information how to find the right standard is in the handout. I have here given some standards, but I have a complete full list of all standards for footwear and for textiles. Lab testing. I already told you, lab testing is required, yes, and it's not mandatory. But with regard to chemicals, it is hardly possible to produce a good product without testing. I mean, because dangerous chemicals, the testing is not very expensive in general, but you need very special equipment, and most manufacturers of shoes and textiles don't have that equipment in their premises where they manufacture the products. Other testing requirements. General Product Safety Regulation Directive, they require also testing for non-chemical aspects like mechanical issues like swallowing. What they have is they do the testing with a probe that is, and they just measure if the probe can be swallowed through a throat of a young child. But also, this is a very tricky test. I wouldn't recommend that you do that. The manufacturer does it himself. Yes, it's better to go to the real experts. And you see here, in both cases, a test report must be produced. It's all about a test report. If there is a problem in Europe, they ask you for the test report. And if you can show it, probably the problem is already halfway solved. Marking, labeling, and other information requirements. Legislation dealing with footwear labeling. There is a very old directive, the 9411 EC, and that is dealing with the marking and labeling as you know it up to today. So you have to give the information that your shoe, which part is made of leather, which part is made of other materials, if it contains fur or other animal parts, and the size, for instance. That is all, I think, that is all common practice already in Vietnam. The legislation dealing with textile labeling is maybe a bit more complicated, but actually you have to give the fiber composition. If you don't get it from your supplier, you have a problem, because it's not always easy to find out if you have a fabric, what is it made of? Well, you can bring it to QTS, and they have a special equipment to detect that. But if you don't have that in your own company, you have to give that information. So an example is 90% polyester and 10% elastane, but it can be any combination, of course. The non-textile parts of animal origin must be clearly specified. So that is, if you have parts of leather or complete leather clothing, you have to specify what the material exactly is. The label should not contain abbreviations, but that is only a technical issue. Technical documentation must at least contain the information, a general description of the product, essential product characteristics, product-specific risk assessment, that is mainly about chemicals, of course, and adopted solutions for risk reduction. What have you done to prevent it? And the list of European standards you have applied. There is no requirement that you must apply standards, but you have to come up with some, let's say, information you have applied to the product. Yes, it is not that you are forced to use a standard, but it's always recommended to use a standard. And the outcome of the relevant tests, and that means you have to come up with the test reports, but you knew that already. Instructions for safe use. very important is if you have a product that doesn't need instructions for safe use. We are talking about casual products, casual shoes, casual clothing, not about professional clothing like a protective suit or something like that. Then you don't have to give instructions for safe use. There is an escape. If there is no hazard for using it, you don't have to give the instructions. So that is, I think that's very useful information. The last one I'm dealing with is the packaging and packaging waste. I have to be very short. The end of next year, all European countries must have a so-called collection scheme in place for all the packaging waste. Well, you are just one of the manufacturers that is producing waste. And if you export to the EU, you will have to make a deal with a collecting organization in each country of the EU separately. I'm very sorry, it's not possible for the whole EU, but only for the countries where you place your product on the market, and to participate in such a scheme. But you still have a whole year to orientate yourself, to make you familiar with the subject. And if you have questions, please ask us. We are happy to give you any question, answers to any of your questions. Thank you very much for your attending. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Robert, for a lot of important information. And the last presentation, please welcome Mr. Levin. He will give us like the information about like how to control the quality of your products to be qualified with the regulations that Robert already just gave us the presentation. Robert, can you stop sharing?
Yeah, escape. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, hi everyone. Thank for Robert for sharing those risks for and regulation to export textiles and footwear to Vietnam. So that is the purpose for HQTS to support our exporter, manufacturer, and also even the buyer or retailer in from Asia, from Southeast Asia, and also another country worldwide to export to the Europe. Ok, thì đầu tiên thì mình sẽ cảm ơn anh Robert là về đã cung cấp những cái quy định để xuất khẩu các mặt hàng dệt may và da giày cho đến thị trường châu Âu. Đây là một thị trường lớn thứ 3 của thế giới và cũng có rất là nhiều quy định nghiêm ngặt. Và đây cũng là cái mục tiêu của HQTS là sẽ hỗ trợ và đồng hành cùng các doanh nghiệp xuất khẩu để quản lý. Thứ nhất là quản lý và thứ hai là để kiểm tra cái sản phẩm của mình có phù hợp với các quy định và điều kiện để xuất khẩu đi thị trường này hay không. Okay. So first of all, I will have a short introduction about HQTS. HQTS is a leading global third-party supply chain quality assurance and control service provider. We provide the supply. We help our partner to control the supply chains in the worldwide, not only in Vietnam or China. Lần đầu tiên thì HQTS là nhà cung cấp chuyên nghiệp các dịch vụ kiểm soát và đảm bảo chất lượng chuỗi cung ứng. Chúng tôi còn cung cấp các giải pháp để quản lý của cung ứng của các bạn trở nên mạnh mẽ hơn. We offer the quality control service for various companies covering all the stages of supply chains and project life cycle. Our service ranges from auditing suppliers and third-party inspection to testing consultancies and issue certification for conformity for export. Chúng tôi cung cấp các dịch vụ kiểm soát chất lượng cho các công ty bao gồm tất cả các giai đoạn trong chuỗi cung ứng. Các dịch vụ của chúng tôi bao gồm từ việc kiểm tra, nhà cung cấp, kiểm định chất lượng của bên thứ ba, thử nghiệm, tư vấn và các giấy chứng nhận phù hợp cho hàng xuất khẩu và đặc biệt là cho thị trường châu Âu. Okay. So in this slide, you can see HQTS, we have represent in 40 countries with 25 office from mainly from Asia and also from other continental. We have more than 2,500 professional staff, including inspector and auditor, and we have support for 15,000 international brands. Okay. Trong cái bản đồ này thì các bạn có thể thấy là công ty HQTS là công ty quốc tế có mặt trên 40 nước và hiện nay là có 25 văn phòng rải rác từ châu Á đến một số các tỉnh thành của châu Âu và châu Mỹ, với mạng lưới giám định viên và đánh giá viên hơn 2.500 người để có thể hỗ trợ tận nơi cho các yêu cầu của mỗi nước và mỗi khu vực. Hiện nay chúng tôi đã hỗ trợ và phục vụ cho 15.000 các nhãn hàng, trong đó có cả giày dép, may mặc. For the service, HQTS, we understand our client have different challenges in each stage of their supply chains, from helping client audit, improve their vendor process and quality, inspecting the merchandise, meeting industry specific regulation, framework and compliance, such as launching the new product line to create a more sustainable future. Chúng tôi có 6 nhóm dịch vụ chính thì cũng trải dài theo các yêu cầu của các khách hàng, là từ việc đánh giá và kiểm tra các nhà cung cấp đến thử nghiệm, đến tư vấn, và đặc biệt chúng tôi hỗ trợ quý khách hàng cung cấp những giải pháp về thân thiện với môi trường và mang tính bền vững. What the difference between quality assurance and quality control? Mostly it's about the purpose to use each service. For the quality assurance is to prevent the defect, which means we will find the potential. After we check the products or process, we will find the potential risk, and then we will have the corrective action and preventive action to make it not happen in the later stage when become the finished products. For the quality control is to identify the defects, which means the defect is already happened in your batch, and so we had to identify it to make sure that we bring it out, or we have the analysis to improve start from the beginning. Okay. Có về quản lý, về quality assurance nghĩa là chúng ta sẽ ngăn ngừa lỗi trong chuỗi sản xuất, nghĩa là chúng ta sẽ tìm đến những cái sự sai số rất là nhỏ trong sản phẩm, hoặc là ảnh hưởng trong những báo cáo về hóa chất, hoặc là về tính gọi là chức năng của sản phẩm, thì từ đó chúng ta có thể đưa ra những cái phương án để khắc phục để những cái lỗi này không được xảy ra, hoặc là không được phát triển khi mà đã thành thành phẩm. Còn đối với quality control là thường thì là lỗi đã có trên cái lô hàng rồi, thì chúng ta phải tìm cái lỗi đó và để gọi là đánh giá lại là cái lỗi đó xuất hiện từ đâu, thì từ đó chúng ta sẽ quay lại cái phần quality assurance để chúng ta khắc phục cái vấn đề này. Thì here down here you can see the services for each purpose of the for purpose of the of your own company. Ở dưới là những cái dịch vụ có thể tương ứng về những cái yêu cầu hoặc quy định hoặc là những cái mong muốn mà bạn muốn đến. Okay. Những cái ví dụ như là cái dịch vụ mà bạn mong muốn. Okay, so briefly about the quality supply chain management. We start from audit factory, which means we will have, as Robert said, that HQTS can come to the factory to audit if the factory have the good technology and also good capability to produce the products. Moreover, if they have the good system to control the supplies to raw material and also for their supply raw material supplier. Okay. And then we move to the next step. We will have do the lab testing for the new products, and also we have the inspection in the mass production to make sure that we have a keep eye on the production and find out on the defect have be occur in the supply chains. Later on, we can do the training and consultancies, and also we have provide the analysis for your supplier to make, and also help them to develop the supplier. Cái này là tiếng Việt của cái trang trước. Thì như mình đã nói là trong quản lý chuỗi cung ứng thì HQTS có mặt ngay từ lúc ban đầu, khi mà khách hàng tìm kiếm hoặc là muốn đánh giá một nhà máy hoặc một nhà cung cấp. Nó có thể là một nhà máy về may mặc, hoặc là nhà máy về những cái bán thành phẩm, hoặc là những cái linh kiện cũng được, miễn sao là nhà máy đó phải đảm bảo về khả năng sản xuất, khả năng về chất lượng và khả năng quản lý những cái nhà cung cấp dưới quyền của họ. Ngoài ra thì về thẩm định và phát triển các sản phẩm mới thì đương nhiên là sẽ có những cái dịch vụ như là thử nghiệm tại phòng lab, chứng nhận, giới thiệu sản phẩm mới, hoặc là xây dựng các tiêu chuẩn cho sản phẩm mới. Trong khi mà bạn đã bước vào lúc mà sản xuất hàng loạt thì chúng ta sẽ có giám định trước, trong và sau sản xuất. Và thứ tư là sau khi mà mình đã đi giám định thì mình đã biết được cái khả năng số lỗi của bên nhà máy, thì mình sẽ có những cái đánh giá và những cái gọi là những so sánh để biết ra những cái điểm ưu và điểm nhược để có thể hỗ trợ và gọi là đưa ra những cái phương án để nhà máy có thể phát triển hơn. Và cuối cùng là là dịch vụ đào tạo và tư vấn. Okay. So I will talk about the inspection service. The inspection service will ensure your supply chains and minimize the risk of underperforming product and process. What the service we will have is supplier audit, factory audit, third-party inspection, pre-shipment inspection, pre-production inspection, inspection during productions, loading, piece by piece production, metal detection, sample checking, and also like weakness for the testing, weakness for function test. Okay. Với dịch vụ kiểm tra và giám định của bên thứ ba, HQTS đảm bảo tính toàn vẹn của chuỗi cung ứng và giảm thiểu rủi ro về sản phẩm và quy trình, cũng như quy trình kém chất lượng. Thì trong đó là như mình cũng đã nói là có những việc đánh giá của nhà cung cấp và nhà máy. Ngoài ra là có những kiểm định trước và trong và sau sản xuất. Đây là sơ bộ ngắn. This is the times the table to show you how the pre-ship the inspection occur during the mass production. Okay. Đây là bảng có thể thấy, các bạn sẽ thấy là khi nào mà chúng ta nên kiểm tra. Các dịch vụ giám định sẽ xảy ra khi trong lúc nào của khi mà bạn bước vào gọi là sản xuất hàng loạt, thì sẽ có 10% đến 20%, 30% và 100% sẽ tùy thuộc vào cái tiến độ của nhà máy mà chúng ta có những cái dịch vụ phù hợp. Testing. HQTest can help you verify for your equipment, material, facility meet requirement, safety and performance standard with help of our testing laboratory across the region. The testing service include first is chemical testing, second is mechanical and physical testing. We also have ZDHC and other tests, and also for some market in requirements such as RICH, CBS, IA, and also ZDHC, and also we have certification for CE mark and GS mark. Testing production. Okay, testing. We test your products in accordance with the respective applicable standard, directives, and also quality requirements, such as for international requirement, we have ISO, ISO, US, we have ASTM, and for Europe, very famous with EN standard, for Canada, and also Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, and Vietnam. Về tiếng Việt thì HQTest có thể giúp bạn xác minh rằng thiết bị và vật liệu cơ sở vật chất của bạn đáp ứng các tiêu chuẩn về hiệu suất và an toàn cần thiết, với sự giúp đỡ của các phòng thí nghiệm hiện tại được công nhận của chúng tôi trên toàn khu vực. Thì các dịch vụ thử nghiệm gồm có các thử nghiệm hóa học, thử nghiệm về cơ lý, các thử nghiệm về ZDHC. Ngoài ra có những chứng nhận về CE mark và có những cái thử nghiệm và các yêu cầu của từng thị trường. Một số các thị trường lớn và có những cái tiêu chuẩn đặc biệt riêng biệt, ví dụ như là tiêu chuẩn ISO, tiêu chuẩn của Mỹ là ASTM, CBSIA, Euro thì rất là nổi tiếng với EN. Ngoài ra còn các tiêu chuẩn khác như Canada, Úc, New Zealand, Nhật Bản, Trung Quốc và cả Việt Nam. Về for the lab testing for footwear and leather, first is about chemical test become more mandatory, and as a technical guide for footwear export to US to EU, the tests are usually required for so in the first table, such as like for formaldehyde, chrome, total cadmium, benzodiazide. Many international buyers have developed their own standard and testing required, including for heavy metal, flat, and many of so you can see in the second table. This is the list of chemical that is required for some internal buyer. And moreover, we also have developed testing technical and refine our equipment to satisfy the need of our buyer in yes. And this is and those chemical is listed in the third table is that what which we have developed to serve our client. Về tiếng Việt thì các thử nghiệm hóa học thì trở nên gọi là bắt buộc đối với việc xuất khẩu giày dép sang EU, thì thường sẽ có những cái tiêu chuẩn thông thường như là ở bảng đầu tiên thì các bạn sẽ thấy là như là formaldehyde, kẽm. Ngoài ra thì một số các người mua luôn sẽ có những cái yêu cầu riêng cho từng thị trường, ví dụ như là các kim loại nặng là phthalate, và bạn có thể xem thêm một số các hóa chất mà cần kiểm tra nhiều như ở bảng ở giữa số 2. Ngoài ra thì đối với một số khách hàng có những yêu cầu đặc biệt không theo thị trường thì HQTS cũng luôn phát triển và để cung cấp những cái dịch vụ phù hợp và riêng biệt cho từng khách hàng. thì cái bảng số 3 là những cái test mà bên mình có thể làm được. Furthermore, we have physical tests also provide the important technical guidance for export of footwear and other later products. And this table provides some physical tests for footwear. For the footwear is very unique because you not only sometimes you not only test for the one product, but in one footwear this contains of many part of it. So you may have test for upper lining, outsole, and also component, not only for the whole shoe. Okay. Thử nghiệm vật lý về thử nghiệm vật lý thì cũng cung cấp những cái hướng dẫn rất là quan trọng cho việc xuất khẩu các giày dép và các mặt hàng da. Thì riêng về mặt hàng da giày thì việc test trên thành phẩm là một đôi giày, thì ngoài ra sẽ còn có test trên những bán thành phẩm như là phần đế, những cái linh kiện khác của đôi giày. Okay. For this slide is lab testing for textiles and garments. Headquarters perform the chemical analysis and quality tests according to national and international standards for varieties of textiles and garment products. So you can below is the legal parameter for chemical tests for textile and garment. Moreover, we also suggest for some recommend parameters such as acceptable heavy metal. Second, next is headquarters also support to solve the challenge for sustainability, globalization, and also emerge as a winner from existing intense global competition with the recommend quality and parameter, such as like color fatness test, strength, tensile strength, and also tearing strength and bursting, for example. Về tiếng Việt thì HQTS thực hiện thực nghiệm phân tích hóa học và kiểm tra chất lượng theo tiêu chuẩn quốc gia và các tiêu chuẩn quốc tế cho nhiều sản phẩm dệt may. Thì dưới đây là một số cái tiêu chí để test cho mặt hàng vải và dệt may. Ngoài ra thì bên chúng tôi cũng giới thiệu một số cái tiêu chí khác để bạn có thể tham khảo. HQTS cũng hỗ trợ giải quyết về các thách thức về tính bền vững, toàn cầu hóa và trở thành người chiến thắng trong cuộc cạnh tranh toàn cầu khốc liệt hiện nay với các thông số và chất lượng được đề xuất. Dưới đây là một số, bên tay phải là một số thử nghiệm test mà bạn có thể áp dụng vào trong sản phẩm dệt may của mình. Vì đây là một số sản phẩm thiên về chức năng thì có thể giúp bạn tạo ra những cái sản phẩm tốt và có tính bền vững, và cũng như có những cái chức năng mới có thể phát triển để phát triển trong cái sự thay đổi của thị trường. Last of all, we would like to say that the benefits which you use or you choose HQTS, we have the simple process to easy communication. Second is this will help our service will help you to lower defect rates and lower return rate, and also we have to increase the end user satisfaction. Moreover, we assure that we comply with ethical practice and also anti-bribery policies. HQTS for the fifth one, HQTS have the global service network and large international workforce. We ensure that we are fast, reliable, and we provide the flexibility service. And finally, we provide a custom service approach that if you have any special requirement, you can come to HQTS, bring your problem so that we can customize and find the solution to serve you. Cuối cùng thì mình nói về những cái ưu điểm và những cái lợi ích mà bạn có thể đạt được khi mà chọn HQTS. Thì đầu tiên là việc dễ dàng trao đổi với nhau để có thể liên lạc với nhau giữa các bên để biết được những cái gọi là những khó khăn, và từ đó bạn có thể cập nhật những cái cập nhật thường xuyên với các đội ngũ của HQTS cũng như các đội ngũ kỹ thuật. Sử dụng các dịch vụ của HQTS thì sẽ giúp bạn giảm thiểu cái mức độ trả hàng về nếu mà sản phẩm có những cái rủi ro ngoài ý muốn. Ngoài ra thì cũng sẽ nâng cao được sự hài lòng của người dùng. Và HQTS cũng có những mạng lưới ở toàn châu Á và có thể tiếp cận đến rất là nhiều khách hàng. Và cuối cùng là chúng tôi tin tưởng là chúng tôi có đủ kinh nghiệm để tạo ra những cái dịch vụ phù hợp với từng yêu cầu của khách hàng. Nếu chỉ cần bạn mang lại những vấn đề của bạn thì chúng tôi sẽ cùng nhau hội thảo và để tìm ra những cái giải pháp dành cho bạn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.